Well, good morning, everyone. I have some pretty cool stuff, at least I think it's pretty cool, to share with you today. It is Saturday. I'm a day early recording because I'm going to take all these things I'm going to show you to the dungeon. So, I specifically worked on items that would go to the dungeon. I did 2 pattern tests, which they're both going to the dungeon too. They were quick and easy tests. I broke out my Creepy Creatures and Cryptids pattern book. Picked a couple out of here. I only got 2 of them made. I mean, we had the storm. Fortunately, we fared very well. We just had to deal with power outages, like 5:30 in the evening, we lost power. I don't know, an hour and a half or so, they had it back on, which totally surprised me. Then throughout the evening, lots of flickers. And then right around midnight, we lost power again. So I had my Canopy lights on standby. I had my market fan on standby. So when we lost power again at midnight, I'm just like, you know what? I gotta go to bed. The whole thing is just exhausting. Just waiting and waiting if something's gonna happen. And the waiting is the absolute worst part of it. And for some reason, these storms always seem to hit in the middle of the night. I feel so bad for everyone that was affected by this. Florida, the whole coast, the whole Gulf Coast, just unbelievable. Georgia, the Carolinas, Tennessee's having issues. I mean, oh my goodness, this thing is just unbelievable. But we were very fortunate. So I am very thankful for that. Okay, let's start with the pattern tests. So the first one, I actually started this Thursday night because, well, I was working on a project and I finished it and then the power went out. And I was like, I need my computer, so I can't. So we all sat around, we took advantage of the power coming back on, got dinner made real quick, we had dinner, and then we played some games, some card games, we played Sequence, we played Yahtzee. So just to make the time pass. So when the lights, after, you know, everybody was tired of games, I decided, well, let me go ahead and do this pattern test for the Chunkymon. I was so excited I got picked. I was like, yay! So I get all the way to the tail, which isn't very far because these are so fast to make, and that's when the power went out. But this is the latest, newest Chunkymon. So now there's 14 total. And it's by Naughty Nat on Instagram. She also has an Etsy. So if you prefer PDF versions of the patterns, she has them available on Etsy. If you don't mind fiddling with Instagram, you can find them for free on there. This one is not up yet. It is supposed to be available on the 30th. But this is Leafy Green Cat. And if it was an actual Pokemon, it would be Leafeon, if I said that right. But I think these are just adorable. So there's 14 total now. And I am sending all 14 to the dungeon. And I'm gonna make more for my market with Sue. Hopefully it's gonna happen because now they're watching another disturbance in the same area as Helene came from. Who knows what's going to happen. So anyways, These things are adorable. The other pattern test I did, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together, and I should have. This is from Eclectic Scribbles, which here on YouTube is Amanda King. And I did not put the 2 together, even though when she emails them to me, it says Amanda King. It just did not dawn on me. So my apologies, Amanda, for that. So her latest one, which is not yet available, is a goblin. And it can be a lovey, or you can stuff the body and make it a plush. Well, because of the dungeon, I decided to do mine as a plush. So I asked this, I can't say the name or it will take over the phone, what does a goblin look like? And he came back with the answers, yellow to oranges, sometimes greens, and all goblins in a family are the same color. So I was like, perfect. My Canyon Mystical is orangey, and it will give it some different shades instead of being an all solid color. So this is my little gremlin. Now, because I was doing it as a plush instead of a lovey, I did it with a 6mm hook, which gave it a very small body. Normally, I would have used, for a lovey, a 7mm, maybe an 8. So, I think he's pretty cute. So this little goblin is gonna go to the dungeon. Then I have a couple of paid patterns. I did a Google search for like Dungeons and Dragons crochet patterns. Came up with some interesting things, not a whole lot, but it wasn't bad. A couple of them are pretty cool. But I haven't, they're all paid patterns, so I haven't, like, let me test the waters first before I spend more money on patterns. But this one I paid $1 for, and I think it's more Harry Potter-ish than Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not sure. But it's called a Monster Mimic book, and it's by Shield Maiden. She's on Instagram, but she sells her patterns on Etsy that I know of. I'm not sure if she sells them anywhere else. So it's a book. It's got pages. It's fairly simple. It's all flat crochet. It's 4 eyes. I just thought it was pretty cool, and it kind of gave that fantasy type, scary type vibe. So there's this, and everything I'm showing you, and I'll probably keep repeating myself, but this is going to the dungeon. Also, I did this in Parfait Chunky. This one was done in Premier Basics Chenille Brights and Bernat Baby for the light yellow. And this one, I think I said, is the Bernat Mystical. So I want to save the coolest ones for last. And it's a paid pattern. It's a difficult pattern, but the end result is really cool. So let's see. I wasn't finding a whole lot. Like I said, I found a few cool patterns. Some of them I'm just not prepared to pay for yet. But it made me think about my book that I have. This is one of the first pattern books I bought for the amigurumi. And it was because it was different. I was like, I like the creepiness of this. Then I got into doing the plushies. And I'm like, I know that there's some patterns in this book that would be perfect for this. So I picked a couple of easy ones. And I used Premier Parfait Chunky. And one of them is, I had one skein of number 7 weight yarn in the Parfait Chunky that I did the other in. So the first one I picked out of this book, and I know I'm gonna blow this name, Chitula, oh, I can't say it. This guy. So the pictures show the patterns in this book done in acrylic or cotton, but in the beginning of the book, she talks about turning them into jumbo plushies. So I felt very confident about turning some of these into plushies. These are cutesy creepy, if that makes sense. They're not like super scary, but yet you still get the gist of what it's supposed to be. So I used Lagoon for this. It didn't call for putting eyelids, but I added eyelids because it just kind of looked like a big old plain head. So I wish they made like something along the lines of the mystical in this yarn. That's just, the mystical just gives it like, I don't know, it's so pretty. It just gives it this like textured, I could see the green being on like an alligator or a dinosaur or even a dragon, and it looking like it has scales because of the way the colors blend on that. I just think it would look cool. So I did this one, and this was fairly quick, definitely easy. The patterns are, in this book, I think the patterns are easy. I think the only thing I struggled on when I first tried something out of the book was the wings. And you just have to like really read the directions closely and you'll get it. You just don't assume, just read the directions. So the second thing that I decided to make from this book was a kraken, which is just a giant octopus. But I had this one skein of the 7 weight Parfait Chunky that I bought a while back because I needed it to go with this yarn that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. And it had to be a 7 weight that went with it because that was like some really thick yarn, which I still have that turtle. He's huge and he's still with me. He didn't go to very many markets, so, and not that my most recent markets are anything to write home about. So this is the kraken. I had to guess on eye size because I was using the 7 weight yarn instead of what the pattern called for. So I went with a 28 millimeter side eye. And this pattern's interesting because you don't close the bottom of it normally. You make a circle and like sew in a patch. So there is a little bit of sewing involved, but it's still super easy. It's probably the easiest pattern in the book. And I could have used, some of my little cutesy octos, but I needed more of the creepy look. So we went with this. An anchor would be a perfect one. I might, after I see how things are going up there, I might send an anchor up there, the one that I have made. That's just one pattern I'm not sure that I want to do again. I mean, it's cool, but oh my goodness, that's some work. And now that I've done it once, it'll probably be easier the second time. But that thing is some work. So now for some cool stuff. Now I have just 2 items left. They're both the same pattern, but different colors. And the second one, I had to kind of make some adjustments because I don't know that I could recommend this pattern. It's cool, but if you are not like advanced at doing this stuff, it is a hard pattern. And it says that it's beginner to intermediate. I think it's more towards advanced. You can make it where it's posable by putting wire in the arms. And they show one part where the wire goes up into the head. I tried doing that, and my wire just kept coming forward towards the front, so I was struggling with it. I couldn't figure out how to make it stay centered to where it's not going to poke through to the front or back or on the sides or anything. So I ended up not using wire. So this pattern is by Crafty Tibbles, and it is specifically a Dungeons and Dragons character. This is what I found on my Google search. So this is what they call a mind flare. Not exactly sure what it's supposed to do, but the kids, Jenna and her boyfriend, knew exactly what it was when I showed it to them. No explanation needed. They knew exactly what it was. So on this first one, I followed the color suggestions in the pattern. The problems that I had with the pattern, so you make the head, you make these separate, you crochet them on, you make the collar separate, you make the arms separate, and this part is just all body. Well, you're ending the body up to the neck with 8 stitches. And you have to use that skinny little hole to attach the head. So that was a little bit of a struggle. When it came to instructions, where I felt like the instructions were lacking, when you do the arms, you're making like the arm tube like you would any other arm. You have to go back and add the fingers, and you go back to make this sleeve part. It does not tell you where to start on either section of it. So I did the little fingers first. Then I tried doing the sleeve, and I had to do a little bit of frogging to get the the flared part of the sleeve to be even close to the right place. And then it did not tell me where to attach my arms. Like, what round am I attaching the arms? I have no idea. On the collar, it says to sew it to the head, but it doesn't say where to sew it to the head. So it needs more explanation on those type of things. So it took me a little bit to make this, but I think it turned out really good. I don't know, like I said, I don't know that I would recommend the pattern, but I do like the end result. I don't like how skinny the neck is. Didn't say whether or not to stuff the arms, so I didn't. Anyhow, this was the first one. And I think I did that Wednesday. And then Thursday, I did this guy and started this guy. Actually, I started that one Wednesday and finished it Thursday morning. I just had like to sew the pieces on, but you get tired. And I did this one on Wednesday. So yesterday came along, and I was so tired because I didn't sleep good Thursday night. It's stressful. It's very stressful, just waiting. Is something gonna happen? Isn't something gonna happen? It's just stressful. So Friday morning, I started to make another mind flare, and I got to the part where I'm almost finished making the collar, and then I have to sew all the pieces on. And I just couldn't. I lay down. I took like a 4-hour nap. So I finished it up last night. Now I did a few things differently. Rather than making the head separate, I started with the body, worked my way up, and then just worked the head pattern in reverse with it attached. And I tried putting the tube in the neck to try and, support that skinny little head. Well, it wasn't much easier. This part needs to be a little wider. So this is the second one. This time I chose my own colors. I went with ruby, seal, and mauve. So let me show you the first one. So they came out very similar. So when I worked on this one, when I did the arms, I did the tube part of the arm, then I did the sleeve. Then I added the fingers so that I could make sure that my hands were going in what I felt was the right direction. So, because we don't get starting information. Then when I attached the collar, because I couldn't attach it to the head, I just waited. I got it on there. That was like the last thing that I did. And just stitched it on. I can't say that this was any easier than the other one. So I just think it needs a thicker neck. The bottom is flat. Now we all know when we stuff those flat bottoms, stuff doesn't want to stand up, right? No. So I had these plastic canvas things that I had purchased a while back, and I gave Sue a couple packages of them to make the card holders, but with doing needlepoint. And that just, as much as I enjoyed making them, it really hurt my hands. So when I did the bottom, I put this in to kind of stabilize it so that it'll stand better. So there is a plastic piece in it. I wish I could have figured out how to do the wires so that they weren't, you couldn't, it wasn't like poking up against the sides, because having posable arms would have been really cool. Having a more sturdy head would have been really cool. But I think what's going to solve that for me is making it to where it's got a thicker neck. It should be at least 12. 8 is a bit thin. 12, I think I could get a thick enough tube in there to really support the neck. So, I don't know. I think these are really cool. Now, Jenna likes the colors of this one better than the colors of this one. They're both cool looking. I even Googled colors for this. Obviously, being the creepiness of it, you wouldn't be using bright, like red or bright green or anything like that. You need more darker, mysterious type colors. But sticking in the mauve to the purple for the skin color. So today, when Jenna gets off of work, we're going to take some things up to the dungeon. I haven't completely decided everything. So I have these that I just showed you. I have 2 out of 3. of the potion bottle dice bags. I sold one. I'm going to take all the Chonkymon, a couple of loaf cats, and I think that's okay to start with. I mean, it's not a huge selection, but some of you guys keep telling me I have too much on the table at one time, variety-wise, so it makes it hard for them to choose. So we're going to start off with a small selection, see how it goes, see what kind of space we have, just see, you know, what the response is to it, and then we'll go from there. But I do definitely want to figure out a better way to do this Mind Flayer dude. Anywho, all right, thank you. Oh, wait. Okay, and just one more thing. I want to say thank you to everybody who reached out to check on us to make sure we were all okay. I appreciate that a lot. It means the world to us. And we're going to see you in the next video.